Welcome to Murder.
And everything else.
My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl, and Joy and I are two very old friends. Very old. We're going to talk about murder and everything else.
That's right. Hey, quick reminder. This is not for kids.
Nope, it's not. It's never for kids.
Hey, so just a quick update. We have officially hit 70 subscribers.
Yahoo!
Shout out to Amber. Shout out to Amber. Thank you for being our 70th subscriber. You know who you are.
Amber.
Enough said. But anyway, guys, we hit 70 subs. That's very exciting.
So cool. Come on, we want 100 by the end of the year.
That's right. I felt like that was a stretch, but I don't feel like it is now.
Nope. And the end of the year is quickly approaching because August is already the day after tomorrow. Well, as we're recording this. Actually, when this comes out, it'll already be in August. So you have even less time to tell your family and friends.
That's right. And also, guys, this is our giveaway week 3. So,
I have to learn how to do that.
So, it's like when you just do a raspberry, only you make your tongue go back and forth really fast.
I can't.
You sound like a turkey. Grubber, grubber, grubber.
All right. This is
Anyway,
question 3. Woo-hoo!
That's right. Before we go into our giveaway question, though, you want to take us into highs and lows?
Oh, yes, I do. And I told you I just had a new low pop up because I forgot my friend Alex's birthday yesterday. I actually did not forget, but I saw it on the calendar and then I didn't text her. It's my fingers forgot to text her happy birthday.
Right.
So, and I just realized it as I was getting ready to record. I don't know what. I mean, I could have gone on a lot longer. So thankfully, it's only the next day. And I sent her a Bitmoji apology. Like, I'm sorry, I'm really sad. So Alex, I know you're not listening to this, but happy belated birthday by one day.
Happy birthday, Alex!
Yes, Alex. And then I told her, this is my other low. I'm sorry, but I'm putting 2 lows in there because, like I said, it just popped up because I was a little down in the dumps yesterday because of several things, of which I won't go over one of them because it'll just send me down a rant and then we won't be able to record. But, this whole thing with Jet and his canine cognitive disorder and trying to find the right cocktails of medication, which we have. So he's not like crying through the night as he was last week when I had to take him to an urgent care visit. But I have to separate him from all the other dogs and people, and he's no longer allowed to mill around when guests come over because, he's got some cognitive issues and he's always had aggression issues. And so now his aggression has escalated and it is breaking my heart. So yes, I was really down in the dumps about it yesterday. And so Alex, that is partly why I forgot your birthday. So that's my low. So yeah,
do you ever sing to your dogs?
All the time.
You have to sing to Jet. Don't go breaking my heart. Don't go breaking my heart. That song.
I wouldn't if I tried. Well, anyway.
If I tried.
Yeah, so you go on the web and you're looking for comfort elsewhere because misery loves company, and so I'm reading all these other posts with other people that have dogs that have canine cognitive disorder, but also aggression issues. That is actually the worst part of Jet.
Yeah.
Because if he was just wandering around aimlessly because he didn't know where things were, that would be fine. But he's just dangerous right now. So it's troublesome. It's it's exhausting and it's also just heartbreaking. So anyway, so that low also caused another low of me forgetting Alex's birthday. Yeah, so my high is, and this is going to be, it's something so small, but in a week of finding out how low people can be and how amoral and disingenuous they can be. I'm not going to talk about it now because it's going to send me off on a in a sphere that I don't want to go into now. But I went to the market. I went to the grocery. Do you call it grocery store or market? What do you call it?
I call them by the name of the store.
Oh, really? So you don't like you say I'm going to Ralph's or I'm going to the.
Yeah,
It's so funny
Costco.
because I think we used to say grocery store in Hawaii, and then it turned into market when I lived in California. I don't know, but then Kevin says grocery market. He just covers both of them.
Huh.
Anyway, so I was in Fry's and I bought a bunch of, I'm going through I'm at the checkout stand. She's scanning all the stuff, and I bought grape nuts because I'm trying to be healthier. And the
Ew.
checker, I
It's like
love
eating
grape
it's like
nuts.
eating sand.
No, it has this malty taste because I looked up, cereals that have less sugar. Anyway, the checker scans the grape nuts and she looks at the expiration date and she goes, "Oh, this is expired." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." She goes, "Yeah, well, go ahead and get another one." And so I'm walking as fast as I can back to the cereal aisle with my gimpy left leg. Anyway, I thanked her profusely. Profusely, I'm like, "Thank you for noticing that," because how many checkers even look at any of the expiration dates? So I like kind of questioned, like, I mean, I was very thankful, but it was so odd. And she goes, "Oh, I buy grape nuts a lot," and I don't know why, but she
Huh.
said for some reason they're a lot of times they're expired. I don't know. You would think the person
Huh.
in charge of inventory would be going
Because
over the expiration.
nobody buys them.
Oh, I knew you were gonna come back with that.
You and her.
Yeah. But isn't that incredible? She could have just scanned it and threw it in the bag. She actually went and looked at the expert. I just thought that was incredible.
Maybe the system flags it.
No, she looked at it. She looked at it. I
That's
saw her
pretty
look at it.
cool.
I mean,
Well,
in
hey,
a
thanks
world,
to her. You should have
yeah.
got her name and then
Oh,
called the manager and been like, that lady needs a raise, yo.
yeah, yeah. Because in a world where customer service has gone down the drain, out the window, however you want to say it, it was so refreshing. I was completely shocked that she stopped to look at the expiration date. I mean, that's going above and beyond, I think. Anyway, what's your high and low?
Well, my low is that I got sick again.
Yes,
So
as we
you
can
can tell
tell.
my nose is all like affecting the sound of my voice. I also have felt like I was underwater or like I felt like a house fell on top of me for like 7 days or something ridiculous like that.
You're the Wicked Witch of the
So,
West or East or whatever it is.
right,
Anyway,
I don't want to go into all of my health issues. Like, suffice it to say that I cannot stand, like, I've been sick now, I feel like for 3 weeks. So
mm-hmm,
I'm pretty much done being sick. So
mm-hmm.
I'm ready now um for a healing trend. But I will tell you that this leads me right into my high, and that is
Okay.
when I am sick, apparently the McKeons don't spend as much money as they do when I'm not sick because I'm laying in bed and I'm not going anywhere. I'm pulling out my handy dandy credit card and going swish, swish, swish,
Yeah,
swish.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't spend any money for a week.
Okay, when you
Like,
say the McKeons, do you mean Joy McKeon or the entire family?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean me, like, and I'm the primary shopper around here. So I will say I did get into a little online debacle on one day when I had a
Uh-oh.
moment of clarity because sometimes I bid on eBay items in the middle of the night. So it was like one of those kind of things. But other than that one incident, like we hardly spent any money in a whole week. So that was a really, really good.
I still love how you're saying we.
Right, right. That was the upside to this whole getting sick mess.
Oh gosh,
If there's
that's
an
a good one.
upside.
Is that your
Yeah.
high?
So guys, if you want a way to work on budgeting and saving money, consider
An
exposing
ear
yourself.
infection and a
Yeah,
sinus
and a sinus
infection and
infection, right.
asthma
Just
and a
start licking
fever
just start licking railings and
and
stuff. You'll get
doorknobs.
sick at some
Oh,
yeah, you get sick at some
go to
point.
the public
Instead of
restroom.
instead of going to the bathroom to wash your hands, just lick your hands, you know?
Lick your hands
So,
clean.
that's
Oh,
right.
well, some people suffer from sleep paralysis, some sleepwalk. Joy sleep shops.
Yeah, that's right. You should try it. It's very exciting because then packages arrive and you're like, "What is this?
I did not order that.
I I
Ooh!
don't remember this." Okay, guys, so this is giveaway week 3. How exciting. So
I sound like a turkey.
we are not going to announce the week 1 winner because we don't know
Hasn't
who
come
that is
out yet.
yet. However, I am going to cover the terms and conditions one more time. And then Cheryl's going to read this week's trivia question. All right.
Yep.
So here are the terms and conditions. Here is how you win. You listen to this podcast for our weekly trivia question and follow these instructions. You're going to like the post on Instagram. You're going to tag 3 friends. You're going to answer the trivia question correctly. And you're going to be the first person to answer the trivia question correctly on Instagram or be the first person to email us at murder and everything else at gmail.com. And if you're the first person with the right answer, you will win. You have 1 week to get the right answer in. You can answer as many times as you want, but the first correct answer wins. We will shout out the winner on Sunday. And if you win once or already have the prize we are giving away, you are not eligible to enter again. If you want to win so you can get the prize to give it away, tell your friends and family to enter the contest, to like and subscribe so they can win. Good luck and may the best listener win. Allow 2 to 4 weeks for the item to arrive. And finally, once you get the giveaway prize, take a photo of it and post it to our Instagram page or to your Instagram page or Facebook or wherever so that all of our followers can see your prize. All right,
All
Cheryl,
right.
take it away.
I just had an image of my sister running around tagging people, like when you play tag as a kid at recess.
Tag. You're
Because
it.
she
You're it.
ain't
You're
got
it.
no Instagram. I also don't do
That's
I
all
also
right.
don't do social media. So for those of you who don't do social media, know that all you have to do is email the answer to murder and everything else at gmail.com. We'd also like a picture attached to that. Super easy. Okay? All right. Question number 3 comes from Casey Anthony Doc Part 1, which aired on January 23 of this year, 2023. Okay, here's the question. You ready? Everybody pay attention. Joy says this one thing was what sold her husband Gabe on buying their house in North Carolina. What was it? Okay.
Dun, dun,
May,
dun.
may the most astute person win. Is that the
What's
right word?
right?
All right. So,
I don't know.
yeah. All right. Well, it is right now. Okay. So, are we going into our main topic of the day?
Yep, we sure are. We're taking a detour today. Oh, no, we're not. We're not taking a detour. We're headed right back to murder. And Cheryl is going to talk about Dr. Death.
We're
Bum,
going to
bum,
talk
bum.
about death. Well, last time wasn't murder, but it was self-harm. Remember? That was really
Right.
sad. So today I'm going to be talking, I named it Dr. Death because I watched the Peacock documentary, Dr. Death. I thought that was a really good name for him. The person in question is Christopher Dunch. And I also got this information from Wikipedia. Actually, it was mostly Wikipedia what I'm going to recite now, but I did watch Peacock's Dr. Death. And if you want to watch something very tragic, I highly recommend it. So, Christopher Dunch was born in Montana and spent most of his youth in Memphis, Tennessee. His father, Donald, was a physical therapist and Christian missionary, and his mother, Susan, was a school teacher. He is a graduate of Evangelical Christian School in the Cordova suburb of Memphis, where he starred in football. Dunch initially attended Millsaps College to play Division III college football and later transferred to Division I Colorado State University. Former teammates later said that while Dunch trained hard, he lacked talent at the game. Dunch returned home to attend Memphis State University, now the University of Memphis. Having exhausted his football eligibility, Dunch decided to switch to a career in medicine. Dunch completed his undergraduate degree in 1995 and then continued on to an ambitious MD PhD program. In 2010, he completed the MD PhD and neurosurgery residency programs at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center and subsequently completed a spine fellowship program at the Semmes Murphey Clinic in Memphis. Yeah, so he went from football to neurosurgery. But
Wow.
stay tuned, folks, because
That's that's like Ben Carson who went from neurosurgery, pediatric neurosurgery to Dum Dumville. I'm sorry. Scratch that.
Okay, all right. Well, Dunch completed. There's a lot of people in Dum Dumville that I know.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, Dunch completed his residency having participated in fewer than 100 surgeries. Typically, neurosurgery residents participate in over 1,000 surgeries in the course of their residency. But he was way short. He was suspected of being under the influence of cocaine while operating during his fourth year of
Oh,
residency
for
training
fuck's sake.
and was sent to
I'm
a program.
sorry. Time out. Time out. For fuck's sake.
This
Like,
whole thing is
what
for fuck's sake.
on earth? I mean, what is this
I
guy
know.
even doing in medicine? Jesus.
Wow. This is again where I have to shed a light. The spotlight has to be shown on the institution again, like, because let me finish this sentence. He was suspected of being under the influence of cocaine while operating during his fourth year of residency training and was sent to a program for impaired physicians. I'm sorry, why do we even have that?
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad we have that program because that I hope that they have one for like frustrated nannies because when I get to the end of my rope with this story, I'm gonna have to sign up for the frustrated nanny program because like literally like I mean I could see somebody dipping into the like medicine cabinet, but like I mean there's no cocaine in the hospital unless someone has it in their pocket who came in like, you know, and they got shot or stabbed or something.
Well, yeah,
You have to go looking
there
for it. Right. You have to, it's not like they have it in the medicine cabinet. And here's a guy who's like, also, where did he get the, you know, cocaine is one of the most expensive street drugs to buy. And it's not that easy to source because there's all this other crap now like methamphetamine, fentanyl, trank. I mean, Special K, Molly. I mean,
Joy, you sure know your drugs.
I know, right?
Well, the thing is, why do they even have a program for impaired physicians? I'm sorry, but you should not even. That should have been the end of the road for him.
Well, I'm sure a physician started the program because he's like, well, and the other thing is, let me just back up here. When you're in medical school, you are so poor. He's in
Mm-hmm.
the fourth year residency. You're even poorer. You're basically being paid like $30,000 a year. You're, trying to live off of cup noodle soup,
Mm-hmm.
and you're working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. But this guy decides, with the limited funds I have, I'm going to take my residency paycheck and I'm going to spend it all on rent and blow.
Yeah.
I can't even.
And I'm sorry, that's a red flag. Why are we giving them an opportunity to redeem themselves? I don't understand it.
Well, I think we should, I think there should be second chances.
Oh, stop.
A
Not for
drug,
certain.
well, he probably should have lost his medical license,
Well,
right? I don't
yeah.
know.
Yes, second chances if you were working at a department store and you stole something, but not when you're going to be cutting people open. I am
I don't
sorry.
know,
No.
girl.
Well,
It's crazy.
he remained in this program for impaired physicians for several months before being allowed to return to the residency. Several of his friends recalled him going to work after a night of doing drugs, with one of them saying he would never allow Dunch to operate on him.
Oh
How
God.
can you in good faith,
You're
like,
literally you're literally four lines
I
in
know, and it's like,
to
stop, hold on,
and
stop.
I'm like, oh, it's just gone from bad to worse.
No, and then listen. So initially, Dunch focused heavily on the PhD half of his degree. His name appeared on several papers and patents, and he took part in a number of biotech startups. However, by the time he met his wife, Dunch was over $500,000 in debt. He decided to turn to neurosurgery, which can be a lucrative field. In 2010, Dunch moved to Dallas. He persuaded his wife to come with him. She agreed since she had grown up in the Dallas area. Upon applying for work, he looked extremely qualified on paper. He had spent a total of 15 years in training, medical school, residency, and fellowship, and his curriculum vitae was 12 single-spaced pages. Single-spaced pages. Dunch also claimed to have graduated magna cum laude from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital with a doctorate in microbiology, a program that the hospital did not offer at the time he allegedly attended. Dunch joined Baylor Regional Medical Center at Plano, now known as Baylor Scott and White Medical Center Plano, as a minimally invasive spine surgeon with a salary of $600,000 per year plus bonuses. Early in his tenure at
Good God.
early in his tenure at Baylor Plano, Dunch made a poor impression on his fellow surgeons.
You think? I'm sorry.
He
This
needed
guy
that
has
hook.
got
He needed that hook. You know that one
he
Thomas
did.
speech. He
He
needed that
needed
hook.
that broom. Someone
Oh
need
my
to like
God.
sweep him off the stage.
Telling you, sweep him right out of that operating room. Veteran vascular surgeon Randall Kirby recalled that Dunch frequently boasted about his abilities despite being so new to the area. Kirby also recalled that Dunch's skills in the operating room left much to be desired. As Kirby put it, he could not wield a scalpel. Okay,
Oh,
hold on to your butts because here we're going to talk about what he did to people, their patients, his patients. Several of Dunch's surgeries at Baylor Plano resulted in severely maimed patients. Kenneth Fennell, the
uh,
first patient Dunch operated on at Baylor Plano, was left with chronic pain after Dunch operated on the wrong part of his back. Lee
oy.
Passmore, a Collin County medical investigator, experienced chronic pain and limited mobility after Dunch cut a ligament which was not normally touched during that particular procedure, misplaced hardware in his spine, placed a screw which kept the hardware in place in an incorrect location in his spine, and stripped the thread so it could not be removed. Barry Morgulov, the owner of a pool service company, was left with bone fragments in his spinal canal after Dunch tried to pull a damaged disc out of his back with a grabbing tool. Dunch initially refused to give Morgulov any pain medicine, claiming Morgulov was a quote unquote drug seeker. Morgulov eventually lost most of the function on his left side and required a wheelchair. Jerry
Wow.
Summers, a longtime friend of Dunch's, came to Plano to have two neck vertebrae fused. During the operation, after Dunch botched the removal of the disc, Summers was rendered a quadriplegic. Dunch
Oh my
performed a
God.
second surgery and packed the space with a large amount of gel foam constricting the spinal cord. The anesthesiologist who worked on the surgery recalled that Summers lost almost 1,200 milliliters of blood, more than a fifth of his blood volume, and almost 24 times the typical amount of blood lost in a spinal fusion. 24 times. The nurses and
Wow.
other staffers who took part in the surgery fully expected Summers to have revision surgery, but Dunch refused to do it. Summers later stated that he and Dunch had used cocaine the night before his surgery.
And he
Okay,
thought it was a good idea.
well, you know what,
Hey,
Jerry? I'm sorry, but you're a dumb shit. You did cocaine with your friend and the guy who was going to be performing surgery on you.
God.
I'm not so sure how much sympathy I have. Well, he's a quadriplegic. That's pretty damn bad.
Oh
Kelly
my
Martin was
God.
unbelievable. Kelly Martin was undergoing a routine back operation when Dunch cut through her spinal cord and severed an artery.
Oh God.
Dunch continued operating despite clear signs that Martin was losing massive amounts of blood. What? He refused to abort the surgery even after a trauma surgeon colleague and an anesthesiologist warned him about the blood loss. He refused to acknowledge anything was wrong, hindering the ICU team's efforts to save her. When Martin awoke from anesthesia, she was screaming and clawing at her legs, forcing the ICU team to re-anesthetize
An
anesthetize her. Woo!
re-anesthetize.
Re-anesthetize her. Dunch also stayed out in the ICU waiting room writing notes rather than attending his patient. Even after Martin went into hemorrhagic cardiac arrest, Martin ultimately bled to death.
Oh God.
Baylor Plano officials found that hold on to your butts. Baylor, Baylor, Baylor Plano officials found that Dunch failed to meet their standards of care. That's putting it mildly, and permanently revoked his surgical privileges. The hospital initiated another peer review, but Dunch resigned rather than face certain termination. To avoid the costs of fighting and possibly losing a wrongful termination suit, hospital officials reached a deal with Dunch's lawyers in which Dunch was allowed to resign in return for Baylor Plano issuing a letter stating that there were no issues with him. Had Dunch been fired, Baylor Plano would have been required to report him to the National Practitioner Data Bank, which is intended to flag problematic physician. I mean, problematic is putting it
Putting it
mild.
lightly. Yeah. I mean, my God.
So Dunch moved to Dallas Medical Center in Farmers Branch. He just moved on down the road where he was granted temporary privileges until hospital officials could obtain his records from Baylor Plano. However, red flags surfaced early on as nurses wondered if Dunch was under the influence of drugs while on duty. He lasted for less than a week before administrators pulled his privileges after the death of a patient, Floella Brown, and the maiming of another, Mary Efford.
Ugh.
Dunch had severed Brown's vertebral artery and refused to abort despite the massive blood loss. Sounds familiar. He then packed it with too much of a substance intended to stop the bleeding. She suffered a stroke as a result. Dunch did not respond to messages from the hospital for a few hours, then the next day scheduled an elective surgery on Efford rather than care for Brown. Hospital officials were exasperated when Dunch refused to delay Efford's surgery and asked him multiple times to care for Brown or transfer her out of his care. Dunch suggested drilling a hole in Brown's head to relieve the pressure, but
Oh
refused,
God.
but was refused permission. Thank God, smarter heads prevailed. Not only was he not qualified for and held no privileges to perform brain surgery, but Dallas Medical did not have the proper equipment or personnel for such an operation. Brown was left in a coma for hours before Dunch finally acquiesced to her transfer. By this time, however, Brown was brain dead.
Oh God.
While operating on Efford, Dunch severed one of her nerve roots during spinal fusion surgery while operating on the wrong portion of her back, twisted a screw into another nerve, left screw holes on the opposite side of her spine, failed to remove the disc he was supposed to remove, and left surgical hardware in her muscle tissue so loose that it moved when touched. Efford was left paralyzed.
God.
Despite both of his surgeries at Dallas Medical Center going catastrophically awry, hospital officials did not report him to the National Practitioner Data Bank. At the time, hospitals were not required to report doctors who only had temporary privileges. I don't understand that. So because of his bad behavior at Baylor Plano, he was given only temporary privileges at Dallas Medical. And because he has he's given these temporary privileges, he can't be reported.
Oh my
What
God.
universe is this happening in? After leaving Dallas Medical Center, Dunch received privileges at Southampton Community Hospital in Dallas, and also took a job at an outpatient clinic named Legacy Surgery Center, now Frisco Ambulatory Surgery Center in Frisco. While there, he damaged patient Jeff Cheney's spinal cord, leaving him without feeling on the right side of his body. He damaged patient Philip Mayfield's spinal cord, drilling into it and leaving him partially paralyzed from the neck down. After undergoing physical rehabilitation, Mayfield was able to walk with a cane, but continued to experience paralysis on the on the right side of his body and in his left arm. He also reported shooting pains throughout his body. Mayfield died of COVID-19 in February 2021, and according to his wife, he had been vulnerable to the virus due to complications caused by Dunch's botched surgeries. While attempting to remove degenerated discs in Marshall Tex Muse's back, Dunch left surgical hardware floating between the spine and muscle tissue.
Good
While
God.
operating on Jacqueline Troy, Dunch cut one of her vocal cords and an artery, and also damaged her trachea. Troy was left barely able to speak above a whisper, had to be sedated for weeks, and had to be fed through a feeding tube for some time as food was getting into her lungs. Despite this, Dunch was retained by Southampton when new owners bought it and renamed it University General Hospital. When Dunch applied for privileges at Methodist Hospital in Dallas, the hospital queried the NPDB, which is, what did I say, the National Practitioner Data Bank. Soon afterward, he severely maimed Jeff Glidewell after mistaking part of his neck muscle for a tumor during a routine cervical fusion, severing one of his vocal cords, cutting a hole in his esophagus, and slicing an artery. Dunch stuffed a surgical sponge in Glidewell's throat to stanch the bleeding. However, he closed Glidewell with the sponge in place despite others in the operating room warning him about it. The sponge
God.
then triggered a severe blood-borne infection that caused Glidewell to become septic. When other doctors discovered the sponge, Dunch refused to return to help remove it. After several days, Kirby was brought in to repair the damage and later described what he found after opening Glidewell back up as the work of a crazed maniac. So
Jesus.
Dr. Kirby wrote a detailed complaint to the Texas Medical Board calling Dunch a sociopath who was a clear and present danger to the citizens of Texas. Under heavy lobbying from Kirby and Henderson, the Texas Medical Board suspended Dunch's license on June 26, 2013. Took them long enough. The lead investigator on the case later revealed that she wanted Dunch's license suspended while the 10-month probe was underway, but board attorneys were not willing to go along. Dunch moved to Denver, Colorado, and went into a downward spiral. He declared bankruptcy after listing debts of over $1 million. He was arrested for DUI in Denver, taken for a psychiatric evaluation in Dallas during one of his visits to his children, and was arrested in Dallas for shoplifting.
Wow.
In March 2014, 3 former patients of Dunch's, Mary Efford, Kenneth Fennell, and Lee Passmore, filed separate federal lawsuits against Baylor Plano, alleging the hospital allowed Dunch to perform surgeries, despite knowing that he was a dangerous physician. Texas Attorney General and current Governor Greg Abbott filed a motion to intervene the suits to defend Baylor Plano, citing the 2003 Texas statute that capped civil damages for medical malpractice at $250,000 and removed the term gross negligence from the legal definition of malice. The suit alleged that I want to say Baylor Plano. The suit alleged that Baylor Plano made an average net profit of $65,000 on every spinal surgery performed by Dunch. Henderson and Kirby feared that Dunch could move elsewhere. I wonder why they feared that, because he kept moving
Right.
everywhere.
Right.
They feared that he would move elsewhere and still theoretically get a medical license. Convinced that he was clear and present danger to the public, they urged the Dallas County District Attorney's Office to pursue criminal charges. The inquiry went nowhere until 2015, when the statute of limitations on any potential charges was due to run out. Part of the problem was being able to prove that Dunch's actions were willful as defined by Texas law. After interviewing dozens of Dunch's patients and their survivors, prosecutors concluded that Dunch's actions were indeed criminal and nothing short of imprisonment would prevent him from practicing medicine again. As
Good.
part of their investigation, prosecutors obtained, listen to this, a December 2011 email in which Dunch boasted that he was, quote, ready to leave the love and kindness and goodness and patience that I mix everything else that I am and become a cold-blooded killer, end quote. Assistant District Attorney Michelle Shugart, who led the prosecution of Dunch, later recalled that Henderson, Kirby, and Lazar contacted her demanding that they be able to testify against Dunch. According to Shugart, doctors almost never testify against each other.
Right. Right.
In July 2015, approximately a year and a half after his license was revoked, Dunch was arrested in Dallas and charged with 6 felony counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 5 counts of aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury, and 1 count of injury to an elderly person. The indictments were made 4 months before the statute of limitations were to run out. The last charge was for maiming and paralyzing of effort. Prosecutors put a high priority on that charge as it provided the widest sentencing range, with Dunch facing up to life in prison if convicted. They also believed that charge would be easy to prove in court. Dunch had been told repeatedly that he was not placing the hardware in the correct position. Prosecutors sought a sentence long enough to ensure that Dunch would never be able to practice medicine again. After 13 days of trial, the jury needed only 4 hours to convict him of the maiming of effort. On February 20th, 2017, he was sentenced to life in prison. The 4 hospitals that employed Dunch have ongoing civil cases against him. How can they have cases against you? Employed him. Anyway, I mean, I get it, but Dunch is housed at the OB unit outside Huntsville. He is not eligible for parole until 2045, when he will be 74 years old. I why is he I don't understand this, eligible for parole.
Ugh.
At 74 years old is not very old. Um
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is that he currently has, what did you say? 4 hospitals that employed him that have ongoing civil cases. So
that's true.
there's a
So
very good chance that
he'll be behind.
by the time those are done, he's going to have more years tacked onto this or additional sentencing. So he's probably never going to see, life outside of prison.
But it is infuriating. It's like these criminals that get out of prison and they rape and murder and kill someone else. I mean, this is essentially what he did. He just kept moving, instead of a prison, it was
Well,
hospital. He just moved from hospital
I
to hospital. How is that even possible? I'm not
I don't
asking. You
know,
don't
but
know.
I
I
will
mean,
tell
Joy,
you
tell
what
me.
I know, right? Um, so way back at the beginning, at the beginning of the
Time, a beginning of time.
at the beginning of your what you were reading about Dunch, it says while in Memphis, Dunch began a long-term relationship with Wendy Renee Young. They have 2 sons. I would really, really, and I say this like whenever there's these cases of somebody who like plows into a crowd of like, 50
Mhm.
officers and kills half of the people, or any of these like really egregious like murder cases, it's very telling to talk to their significant other or partner
Mhm.
or their offspring, their children, or relatives, and to get them to weigh in, because I would be interested to talk to Wendy Renee Young and the two children, because later on you make mention of him moving to Denver and something happened when he was, let's see, where was it?
Did he move to Dallas and he persuaded his wife to come with him? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe she didn't want to
Well,
go.
well, and
She was
then
like, "This is
wasn't
my
he
chance
picked
to
up,
get out."
right? Wasn't he picked up for shoplifting when he was like going to visit his kids or something? It's like I would be interested to hear what I'm sure it's his ex-wife now and his two children have to say about so why don't you tell us a little bit about what family time was like at home? Why don't you tell us a
Right.
little bit about like, I don't know, Little League? Did you see your dad a lot outside of an odd Sunday? Did he do Little League? Did he do swimming lessons? Did he take you to your dance classes and pick you up and drop you off? Did he go outside and kick the ball around before soccer season? I mean, did he take you to Cub Scouts? Did he take you to Girl Scouts? I don't know. You said he had two sons, so I guess they wouldn't have been at Girl Scouts. But, you know, I mean, you can tell a lot about somebody from the reaction or from the interaction and, what their children have to say, what the spouse has to say.
Yeah, and I wonder how much he was able to keep from her. Actually, you know what? It doesn't say here, but I think in the document, because most of this is from Wikipedia, but I believe she helped. She was his. That's right. She started working with him. Am I mixing up two stories? Anyway, all I know is I wonder. I'm sorry, but if that were your husband, wouldn't you be like, honey, um, after the second one, okay, maybe the first maiming of his patient is like, okay, I guess that's where the word mistake can be used. But then after that, like, at what point as the spouse do you go, I think you need to look into another vocation, honey. You know what I mean? Like, as the wife, what would you do? Like, would you just stand by your husband, or would you say, listen, I think you need to.
Well, well, this is a very, very good question, but I will tell you that no, I would not stand by my husband if he committed a crime. And like, it's one thing, like, I mean, and it's interesting, like, he didn't just do all these horrible things in surgery, he also was picked up for shoplifting. It was like apparently like nothing was off the table for this guy. There's like the
Yeah.
cocaine use, there's doing cocaine with the guy you're going to operate on like the next morning. Remember the whole thing how you're not supposed to eat or drink anything for so many hours
Yeah, yeah.
before you go in for surgery? Well, apparently cocaine is okay because your own doctor who's going to operate on you is the one doing lines with you the night before
That
your
I
surgery.
know. That story, that guy, I'm like, I mean, I feel
What
bad
the heck?
that you're a quadriplegic. I feel sorry for you, but come on, what were you thinking the night before? How could you even think that was a
Yeah.
good idea?
And and then what about like, oh, I'm
But
sorry. It's
how are you the other, I don't know, the nurses and the anesthesiologists, there's all these people in the operating room with him, right? A lot of them are like telling him, hey, don't forget that sponge in there. And you know, I just don't understand how this happens repeatedly. And then he goes to
right.
another hospital and it keeps happening. Now, oh,
Well, I'll
remember,
guarantee you that a system of checks and balances are probably in place as a result of this, at least at
as
those
a
medical
result
centers.
of this, but you mean they didn't have one before? Oh, they had
I
what
mean,
did I
I would
say? This
hope.
temporary, what was the detention thing? What what was it called? Oh, I gotta look for this. When he basically got a slap on the hand because he was using coke, and they put him into the, what did
Oh,
I say, the,
oh yeah,
what is
yeah.
the
They
oh,
initiated a peer review.
right, no, but let's see. No, let's, I'm just saying that, like, e- e-
He it
at some
required him
point,
it required to report him to the National Practitioner Database, which is intended to flag problematic physicians.
yeah,
Like he
but
was granted temporary privileges at Dallas Medical Center until they could obtain his records from Baylor Plano. It's like, ay, ay,
I
ay, ay,
mean,
ay.
it just
And then
seems
he
like,
lasted for less than a week before
yeah,
administrators pulled his privileges after the
uh,
death of a patient. I mean, come
how,
on.
I mean, this is a real story, everyone. This is not fiction. I
Oh,
mean,
I know.
life is sometimes more absurd
Oh,
than
no,
fiction.
it always
Uh,
is.
how in the, I just don't understand how he could hurt and kill this many people before he stopped. And like you said, there's probably checks and balances that have been put in since, but we're not talking, this was back in the 1800s. I just don't understand how he even got away with this. It is incredibly frustrating. I just don't even understand how he was. Oh, this is when he was suspected of being under the influence of cocaine while operating during his fourth year residency training and was sent to a program for impaired physicians. They have a
Right.
program for impaired physicians. Okay. Uh, I think that's the problem right there.
Oh, it's a huge problem.
Is it because
I
we can't find
I
people
will
that are
say
clean that want to become doctors?
I mean, I will say this. I think that there is this obviously this belief that if you're going into a career field that requires that much education, that much training, that much commitment, that much dedication, that much studying, and all of the, I mean, and also you have to be smart to do that. You can't be like, you can't be like somebody who, can't even get their bus on time, right? Because you have to have a lot of self discipline for something like this. So
Right?
I think there's this assumption that these are good people. They want to save lives, they want to take care of people, they want to, impact people's lives favorably. So
Or they
the
just want to
I
make a lot of money, which is what
yeah,
that's where he
right.
came.
But
Hmm.
but I think the idea that somebody would go through all of that, because again, remember, you're going through like self-imposed, like, torture and poverty between like the backbreaking study hours and how poorly you're paid for the first so many years, that I think that the idea that somebody would do it just so that they could like do lines of cocaine with some of the patients the night before their surgery, I mean, that just sounds crazy.
Yeah, but I'm saying that once you have an infraction, I think that should be the end of the road for you because you are dealing with people's lives. I don't understand why they had this. Why are we rehabilitating them partway through their
I don't know. I mean,
residency?
I guess there was a hope that, the other thing you have to
I'm
take into consideration is malpractice insurance. So every hospital carries a bunch of malpractice insurance. They carry it for their physicians and for anybody who does any kind of like, medical services, technicians, et cetera, et cetera. They also, every individual doctor carries malpractice insurance because not only can the institution be sued, but also the doctor can if a patient pops up and says, "Oh, I can't turn my head sideways. You somehow did something wrong." And it's gotten to the point where I think if you're going to go into a medical field, you have to really seriously consider, like, are you willing to like stake your life and reputation and the job you do, because people are so sue happy. Now, that isn't to say that these people obviously should have sued, but you and I both know that, like, you didn't like your chicken that you picked up at Zaxby's over the weekend because it made you sick. Now I'm going to sue the restaurant. People
Mm.
do this kind of frivolous stuff all the time.
Oh yes, I know.
So, yeah. So now, you look at a doctor who is, let's say, trying to care for their patients and do everything by the book and do everything right. It's like, there's all this insurance involved, for all these cases. I remember hearing someone say, I want to say it was a friend who was a physician, that at the time that we were having that conversation, they were involved in, like, I think 47 different
What?
malpractice suits. And this was somebody who was genuinely an amazing physician who, like, was caring for the patients, working really hard, trying so hard to, like, impact, in a positive way, the lives of every patient they came into contact with. And they were still in the process of 47 different, and again, it's not just the physician, it's the hospital that they're working for. And of course, they're probably going to settle some of those. They're probably going to lose some of those, and maybe they're going to win some of those. I don't know. I'm not a physician. I'm not a law insurance person. I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that I'm sure that some of this stuff had to do with this doctor, had to do with these, all this litigation and all these malpractice suits. And maybe the first, I don't know, five or seven or 15, they said, well, these are just frivolous or whatever. And so maybe they got in on a technicality of every doctor is carrying a minimum of X number of cases at any
Mm,
given time.
mm,
So
mm, mm.
I wonder if that was maybe something that didn't make them sit up and go, okay, until maybe some of the nurses that were in the operating rooms and some of the other physicians or the anesthesiologists or any of the technicians or whatever that were in there sat up and said, I saw something that's not okay. I don't think this doctor is doing things properly. And maybe, it took a little while for those whispers to, like, be heard.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. It just seems like an awful uh he just seems like he was allowed to continue for way too long. I get what you're saying, but well, like you said, hopefully from this there've been a lot more checks and balances put into place because this is horrific. It should not have gone on. This was not like, he these were just frivolous. I mean, these are major.
Yeah,
What it
yeah.
is catastrophic.
I
I
would
mean,
be interested to look up, like, how his incarceration has
it's
been
going.
going. I wonder how many surgeries he's performed on the inside.
And it puts the fear of God into me because I am having surgery tomorrow.
Right. Well, you
Still,
don't have to worry about this guy. He's in prison.
and it's true, but hopefully there's no other dungeons out there. But it is scary. It's scary. You're putting your life in someone's hands, and not just even if it wasn't life threatening. Sure, screw them up. Good. I mean, pain. Let's talk about pain. Just causing someone
Oh, no.
extreme and chronic pain is. I mean, he would just like operate on the wrong part of the back.
Right.
It's incredible. I just found this story incredible because of the length of time and the different and the number of hospitals he was able to move on to before he was caught. I just find that incredibly tragic.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Just like the whole thing. I mean, it sounded like I was reading
Right. I it's
a
it,
Stephen King novel. As I'm
uh-huh.
reading down the document you prepared, I'm just like, this has got to be fiction.
Right. It's because you can't understand how he would be able to just continue. That first Baylor Plano um, they didn't want a spotlight on them. They wanted it to
Right.
go away, and the best way to go away is to just keep it quiet. And then he resigned before he was fired because if they let him go, they were going to have to report why they let him go. So he did them a favor by resigning, and then they could just sweep it under the carpet and let him be someone else's problem, which that as well, I could not in good conscience do that. Send someone off knowing he's going to mutilate other people like this. This is incredible.
Right.
Anyway, on that happy note.
I know. Wow, Cheryl. When you bring the death and the mayhem, you really bring it, girl. I just have to say, you really know how to, like, in the words of Josh Groban, you lift me up, girl. You lift me up when I can stand a mountain. Like, literally. We should change our our outro and our intro music to Josh Groban for this episode.
Yes. Speaking of outro, I just want to tell everybody that they need to start listening all the way through to the very end of our recording. The very end. Listen to our credits, people. You want to know who's responsible for what, So listen through that. I recommend. I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Especially for these that I've just brought you down.
Especially, I know, right?
Such a bummer. I highly recommend, for a palate cleanser, as they call it, to listen through our critics. I can't talk. Go ahead, Joy. Tell them what to do.
Guys, I'm seriously considering changing this to a comedy podcast because I'm so sad now. I'm sick and I'm sad. And I can't, and I'm afraid to go to the doctor. Thanks a lot, Cheryl. No, guys, seriously, listen, I know, like, I needed something else to be afraid of in my 50s. Oh my God. Now I can add going to the doctor to the list.
Wasn't that incredibly timely? You guys, okay, we knew we were going to do this next. Joy just happened to get sick during this time, and I just have been hounding her about going to the doctor, and then I read her this. I'm so sorry. The timing was very poor on my part.
So what this doctor did was a real crime, but you know what is also a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
Oh boy. Yes, we are. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Callan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezek. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, and you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.